Okay, so, in my defense, I was heartbroken, I was broke, and someone kept refilling my champagne glass. Was it a great idea to walk up to the most powerful woman in New York City and propose marriage in front of 500 people? Absolutely not. Did I do it anyway? Yes. Did she say yes back? Also yes. With lawyers. And a contract. And a clause about kissing. Look, I just wanted to make my ex jealous. I did not mean to accidentally get a billionaire wife. She's really pretty though. Chapter 1. The worst idea I ever had. Are you seriously wearing a dress from a discount mall to the Sterling charity gala? Lexi's voice was exactly the same as I remembered. High, sweet, and incredibly cruel. I froze, holding a glass of cheap champagne in my shaking hand. I slowly turned around. There she was. Lexi Thorne, my girlfriend of 3 years. Well, my ex-girlfriend. She had dumped me exactly 48 hours ago through a text message. And right beside her, holding her arm tightly, was Taylor Sterling, a famous billionaire heiress. She wore a sparkling silver dress that probably cost more than my apartment, my car, and my entire college education combined. I was invited, I lied. My face felt like it was on fire. The truth was, I wasn't invited. I had sneaked in. I was a struggling graphic designer with $42 in my bank account. I came tonight because I saw photos of Lexi and Taylor online, kissing at a coffee shop. I was angry, heartbroken, and I wanted answers. But now, standing in the middle of this massive, golden ballroom in New York City, surrounded by the richest people in America, I just felt stupid. Taylor looked me up and down and laughed, a mean, sharp sound. Invited? Please. You look like you're here to serve the drinks. Lexi, is this really the pathetic loser you used to date? Lexi sighed and flipped her perfect blonde hair. Unfortunately, yes. She is so boring and so poor. I wasted 3 years with her. Cassie, you need to leave before I call security. You are embarrassing yourself. A few rich guests nearby stopped talking and turned to stare. They were whispering. Some of them were pointing at my cheap shoes. Don't cry, I told myself. Do not cry in front of them. Before I could escape, the heavy oak doors at the top of the grand staircase opened. The entire ballroom went dead silent. The classical music stopped playing. It was as if someone had hit the mute button on the entire party. I looked up. A woman stood at the top of the stairs. If Taylor Sterling was a spoiled princess, the woman standing up there was the absolute queen. It was Blair Sterling, Taylor's older sister, the current CEO of the Sterling real estate empire, the Ice Queen of Wall Street. She was breathtakingly beautiful, but in a way that made you afraid to look at her for too long. She wore a perfectly tailored white blazer dress that hugged her waist, falling cleanly over her long legs. Her jet black hair fell in soft, elegant waves over one shoulder. Bright, blood-red lipstick contrasted sharply with her pale, flawless skin. Every single step she took down the marble stairs sounded like a hammer hitting an anvil. Click, clack, click, clack. Her sky-high black heels were sharp enough to kill a man. Oh my God, my brain screamed. She is the most gorgeous woman I have ever seen in my entire life. Wait, Cassie, stop. You are heartbroken. You are poor. Stop having a gay panic over a billionaire. But I couldn't look away. As Blair reached the bottom of the stairs, the massive crowd of millionaires quickly stepped back. They parted like the Red Sea, creating a wide, empty path for her. She had an aura of absolute power and cold dominance that was almost physically suffocating. Ugh, my sister is here, Taylor whispered next to me. She ruins all the fun. Come on, Lexi, we need to say hello. They completely forgot about me. I stood there alone. The anger, which had been hiding behind my embarrassment, suddenly boiled over. Lexi had broken my heart. She had humiliated me in front of hundreds of people. She was walking away, smiling, completely unpunished. I looked at my glass of champagne. I drank the whole thing in 1 second. Then I grabbed a second glass from a passing waiter and drank that one too. The alcohol hit my empty stomach like a bomb. A crazy, wild, completely stupid idea formed in my brain. It was the worst idea in the history of human ideas. But the liquid courage pushing through my veins told me it was a brilliant plan. You want to humiliate me, Lexi? I thought. Watch this. Before my logical brain could stop me, my feet started moving. I stepped right into the empty path that everyone had cleared for Blair Sterling. The entire room gasped. I heard someone whisper, "Who is that girl? Is she crazy?" I walked straight toward Blair. My cheap, slightly broken heels made my walk anything but elegant. I almost tripped over the edge of a giant rug, waving my arms like a windmill to keep my balance. Smooth, Cassie. You look like a drunk penguin. Blair stopped walking. Two massive security guards in black suits instantly jumped in front of her. "Ma'am, step back," one of them barked. "Wait," a voice said. "Blair." Her voice was slightly deep, incredibly smooth, and cold as ice. She raised one perfectly manicured hand. Just one simple gesture. The guards instantly stepped back and lowered their heads. Blair slowly looked at me, my messy brown hair, my cheap black dress, my shaking knees. When she was this close, I could smell her perfume. Expensive vanilla, dark cedarwood, and something that just smelled like money. It made my mind go completely blank. "Can I help you?" Blair asked. She raised one perfect, dark eyebrow. She didn't look angry, just mildly curious. Behind me, Lexi's voice shrieked. "Miss Sterling, I am so sorry. She is my crazy ex-girlfriend." "Security, throw her out." Taylor laughed cruelly behind her. "Yeah, total loser." Hearing their voices gave me the last push I needed. I took a deep breath and looked directly into Blair Sterling's cold gray eyes. "Blair Sterling," I said, my voice echoing in the silent ballroom. "I think your sister's new girlfriend is trash. And I think you need a wife." The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Someone in the back actually dropped a glass. It shattered loudly. I didn't stop. "Marry me instead. I am a great cook, I am extremely loyal, and I will make sure your sister and my cheating ex call me boss at every family dinner. What do you say?" "Oh my God. I just asked a billionaire to marry me. I am going to jail. They are going to lock me in a very expensive dungeon." Lexi shrieked. Taylor turned red with rage. I closed my eyes and waited for the security guards to throw me out into the cold New York street. 1 second passed. Then 2. Then 3. Nobody grabbed me. "Lexi, Taylor." "Be quiet," a cold voice commanded. I slowly opened my eyes. Blair Sterling hadn't moved. But the cold, icy expression on her face had changed. The corner of her red lips was slightly curled up. A very small, very dangerous smile. She took a slow step closer to me. Click. Then another. Clack. She stopped so close that the tips of her sharp heels almost touched my cheap shoes. The smell of vanilla and cedar wrapped around me completely. I was 5'4". She was at least 5'10" in those heels. I had to tilt my head back just to look at her. My brain, bless its chaotic little heart, chose this precise moment to stop functioning entirely. Blair slowly reached out. I thought she was going to slap me. Instead, her cool, soft fingers gently brushed my hot cheek and tucked a piece of my messy hair behind my ear. The touch sent an electric shock straight down my spine. She leaned down, her face only inches from mine. "A great cook, huh?" Blair whispered, her voice meant only for me. "And you want to make them call you boss?" I couldn't speak. I just gave a tiny, stupid nod. Blair pulled back. She looked over my shoulder at her shocked sister and my horrified ex-girlfriend. Then she looked back down at me. "All right," Blair said, loud enough for the entire room to hear. I blinked. "All right?" "Wait. What does all right mean?" Blair Sterling gave me one last look that made my knees feel like jelly. She turned around, her white blazer dress perfectly catching the light. "It means," Blair said without looking back, "my lawyers will send you the marriage contract tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Do not be late, Cassie Hayes." She knew my name. How did she know? My name? Before I could process that terrifying thought, a slender woman in a black suit materialized at my elbow. Ms. Vance, head of legal for Sterling Enterprises. She pressed a small white card into my shaking hand. Tomorrow at 9, Ms. Vance said quietly. And Miss Sterling has arranged a private civil officiant for 11 o'clock, should you choose to proceed. The city clerk's office has been notified. Everything will be handled discreetly. A civil ceremony. Same day. Just like that. The rich really did live in a completely different universe. My eyes rolled back. The floor rose up to meet me with the dignified grace of a person who had absolutely nothing left to lose. The last thing I heard before I hit the expensive golden rug was Lexi screaming in absolute horror. The last thing I felt was a pair of cool, strong hands catching my shoulders. Blair Sterling, it turned out, had very fast reflexes. Chapter 2. Kneel for your sister-in-law. I woke up face down on my cheap, lumpy mattress, staring directly at a half-eaten slice of pepperoni pizza. My head was pounding. My mouth tasted like old pennies and regret. I grabbed my cracked phone from the floor. 8:30 a.m. My lawyers will send you the marriage contract tomorrow morning at exactly 9 a.m. I sat up so fast the room spun. Oh my God, I gasped, grabbing my hair. It wasn't a dream. I proposed to a billionaire. I proposed to my cheating ex-girlfriend's terrifying older sister, and then I fainted on her expensive carpet. I am going to be sued for everything I own, which is exactly $42 and a half-eaten pizza. Maybe she was just joking, I told myself. Yes, she was just playing along to embarrass Lexi. She is not going to actually send lawyers to my crappy apartment. Knock. 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 I froze. It was exactly 8:50 a.m. Every single coherent thought I had ever owned evaporated on the spot. I jumped out of bed, tripped over a pile of dirty laundry, and face-planted onto the floor. I scrambled up and looked through the peephole. Standing in my dimly lit hallway was a tall woman in a sharp black suit holding a thick leather briefcase, with a massive security guard behind her wearing dark sunglasses. I wanted to throw myself out the window. Instead, I took a deep breath, smoothed down my wrinkled pajamas, and opened the door 2 inches. Cassie Hayes, the woman said. I am Ms. Vance, head of legal for Sterling Enterprises. You have exactly 10 minutes to get dressed. A car is waiting downstairs. 10 minutes later, she had apparently decided not to wait. I was sitting in the back of a black luxury SUV. I was wearing my best professional outfit, a thrifted beige skirt, a white button-down missing a button near the bottom, and plain black flats. Compared to Ms. Vance's designer suit, I looked like a broke college intern. The Sterling Tower turned out to be an 80-story skyscraper of dark glass and steel that literally touched the clouds. We rode a private glass elevator all the way to the top floor, where thick, dark gray carpet muffled every sound and floor-to-ceiling windows displayed the entire skyline of New York City. Miss Sterling is in the main boardroom, Ms. Vance said. Before she could open the heavy glass doors, I heard a voice. Loud, whining, and incredibly familiar. Blair, you have to destroy her. Taylor Sterling. I peeked through the glass. The boardroom was the size of a tennis court, with a long black marble table. Taylor sat at the far end. Lexi was next to her, holding a tissue and dabbing her perfectly dry eyes. She is unstable, Miss Sterling, Lexi said, making her voice sound small and terrified. Cassie followed me to your private gala just to ruin my night. You should have the police arrest her for trespassing. Taylor slammed her hand on the table. Exactly. Sue her until she is homeless. My blood boiled. Lexi dumped me via text message because I was poor, instantly started dating a billionaire, and now she was playing the victim. Then my eyes shifted to the head of the table. Blair Sterling was sitting in a high-backed leather chair, slowly flipping through a thick file, looking completely and utterly bored. Today she wore a dark emerald green silk blouse, unbuttoned slightly at the collar. Her jet black hair was tied back in a sleek ponytail. She looked effortlessly powerful, like a goddess who casually controlled the fate of the entire city. Stop it, Cassie. Stop drooling over the woman who is probably about to throw you in a volcano. Ms. Vance opened the doors. Miss Sterling. Cassie Hayes has arrived. Lexi's fake tears vanished instantly, replaced by a nasty smirk. Taylor crossed her arms. Blair slowly closed the file and looked up. Her cold gray eyes locked onto mine, and immediately that familiar scent of vanilla and dark cedarwood hit me from across the room. "Come in, Cassie," Blair said. Smooth, low, perfectly calm. As I walked past Lexi's chair, Lexi suddenly stuck her foot out. My flat shoes caught her expensive heel. I stumbled hard, and my cheap full leather purse slipped from my sweaty hands. It hit the marble floor. The zipper broke open. Everything spilled out. A pack of cheap tampons, scattered pennies, a half-eaten pack of mints, my cracked lip balm, and a highly embarrassing coupon for buy one get one free frozen chicken nuggets. Lexi burst into cruel, loud laughter. "Oops. So clumsy, Cassie. Coupons for chicken nuggets? Miss Sterling, are you really going to let someone like this into your office?" Taylor giggled. "EW. Pick up your garbage, loser." I started to bend down to collect my things. "Stop." The word was soft, but it cracked through the room like a physical whip. Lexi's laughter died instantly. Blair Sterling stood up. She didn't look angry. She didn't yell. Her face was completely blank. But the temperature in the room seemed to drop by 20 degrees. She walked around the long marble table without hurry, without noise, as if the room itself had decided to hold its breath until she was done moving. She stopped right next to me. Blair looked at the mess on the floor, then slowly shifted her gaze to Lexi. "Did I give you permission to speak in my boardroom?" Blair asked softly. Lexi turned pale. I. Blair, come on," Taylor whined, standing up. "Lexi is my girlfriend. We came here to make sure you destroy this girl for humiliating us." Blair looked at her younger sister with eyes so cold they could freeze fire. "Taylor, sit down." Taylor swallowed hard and slowly sank back into her chair. Blair returned her gaze to Lexi. She looked at my ex-girlfriend the same way someone looks at a cockroach on their shoe. "You tripped her," Blair stated. Not a question. "It was an accident." "Miss Sterling, please. Pick it up." Lexi's jaw dropped. "What?" Blair took a slow step forward. She was easily 5 inches taller than Lexi, and the power imbalance was staggering. "I said," Blair repeated, her voice smooth and lethally quiet, "get on your knees. And pick up her belongings." Lexi looked at Taylor in a panic. "Taylor," Blair said calmly, not even looking at her sister, "if your girlfriend does not pick up my fiancé's belongings in the next 5 seconds, I am canceling your black credit card and taking away your Ferrari." "Wait, fiancé? Did she just call me her fiancé?" Taylor grabbed Lexi's arm. "Lexi, do it. Do not make her take my car." Slowly, painfully, my cheating ex-girlfriend got down on her knees in her expensive designer dress. With shaking hands, she picked up my cheap tampons, the pennies, the chicken nugget coupon. She placed them all carefully back into my broken purse. I stood there, completely stunned. The rush of pure, unadulterated satisfaction that washed over me was intoxicating. It was the most brutal, flawless face slap I had ever witnessed in my entire life. Lexi stood up, handing me the purse without looking me in the eye. She was trembling. "Both of you," Blair said, not even glancing at Lexi. "Get out of my office. If you ever disrespect my future wife again, I will personally ruin you both. Are we clear?" "Yes, Miss Sterling," Lexi whispered. Taylor grabbed Lexi's hand, and they practically ran out, the glass doors swinging shut behind them. The massive room was suddenly empty. Just me, Blair, and the heavy electric tension in the air. She called me her fiancé. She called me her future wife. She made my toxic ex get on her knees. Blair slowly turned to face me. The terrifying cold aura melted away. A small, soft smile touched the corners of her lips. "Are you all right, Cassie?" You defended me," I managed. Blair reached out, her cool fingers gently guiding me toward the table. "I protect what belongs to me," she said simply. "Sit." I sat down, my legs feeling like jelly. Blair sat right next to me. So close I could see the tiny silver flecks in her gray eyes. She slid a thick, leather file across the black marble table and placed it in front of me. The marriage contract, Blair murmured. She leaned in slightly, reaching across my body to grab a sleek gold pen. As she did, her chest brushed lightly against my arm. I stopped breathing entirely. The terms are simple, Blair whispered, her face inches from mine. I pay off all your debts. I put $5 million into your bank account. And I make sure my sister and your ex treat you like absolute royalty. $5 million. What? What do you got? I squeaked. Blair's gaze dropped to my lips for one split second. Turn to page 4. Clause 7. I shakily opened the file and found it. Clause 7. Cohabitation and physical intimacy. The parties agree to reside together in the primary penthouse of the first party, Blair Sterling. To ensure the authenticity of the marriage to the public and the Sterling family, the second party, Cassie Hayes, agrees to share a single bedroom and must consent to convincing public displays of physical affection, up to and including kissing. I slowly looked up from the paper. Blair was resting her chin on her hand, watching me closely. The small, dangerous smile was back on her lips. Well, Cassie, Blair whispered. Are you going to sign it, or are you going to run away? Chapter 3. The Trap. I stared at the heavy gold pen in my trembling hand. Clause 7. Cohabitation. Single bedroom. Public displays of physical affection, up to and including kissing. My brain was screaming. Cassie, put the pen down. But then I looked up. Blair's silver gray eyes were intense, challenging, and completely unreadable. I thought about Lexi on her knees, picking up my cheap tampons. I thought about my empty bank account and my broken heart. I took a deep, shaky breath and signed my name. Blair's red lips curved into a very slow, very satisfied smile. Good girl, she murmured softly. My entire face turned the color of a tomato. I need an ambulance. That was exactly 2 weeks ago. Now I was officially living in the primary penthouse of the Sterling building, a modern glass castle in the sky. Everything was black marble, white leather, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking New York. The bed was the size of a small island. For 14 nights I had slept on the extreme far left edge of the mattress, wrapped tightly in my blanket like a frightened burrito, while Blair slept on the far right, breathing evenly, smelling like heaven, and somehow always waking up looking like a supermodel. It was absolute, beautiful, terrifying torture. It was Wednesday morning, the biggest day of my professional career. I stood in front of the massive bathroom mirror, nervously adjusting the collar of my crisp white blouse. Thanks to Blair's $5 million deposit, I wasn't wearing thrift store clothes anymore. I had bought a tailored gray suit, but I still felt like an imposter. You're shaking, Cassie. I jumped, dropping my hairbrush into the sink. Blair was standing in the bathroom doorway, in a dark blue silk robe, her black hair falling in soft, messy waves around her shoulders, holding a tiny cup of black espresso. She looked soft, domestic, and so impossibly beautiful that my lungs forgot how to process oxygen. I'm not shaking, I lied. Too much coffee. Blair walked slowly into the bathroom. Her bare feet made no sound on the heated marble floor. She stopped right behind me. Our eyes met in the mirror. You have the big presentation today, she said, her voice slightly raspy from sleep. Yes. If my agency wins the Nova Cosmetics contract, my boss promised to promote me to senior designer. I really need this, Blair. I need to prove I'm not just a joke. Blair set down her espresso and turned me around to face her. My breath hitched. We were so close, the silk of her robe brushed against my suit jacket. Her cool, soft fingers gently fixed my slightly crooked collar, her knuckles grazing my neck, and the sensation rippled all the way through me. Do not kiss her. Do not kiss your fake billionaire wife. You are not a joke, Blair said softly, her silver eyes locking onto mine. You are my wife. You do not fail. Do you understand me? I nodded slowly, completely hypnotized. Yes. Blair patted my shoulder, picked up her espresso, and walked out. Good. Don't embarrass me today, Cassie. Gay panic. Level 100. I stood there for a full minute, one hand on my chest. I am completely and catastrophically down bad, I realized. This is a medical emergency. 2 hours later, I was standing in the main conference room of my graphic design agency. My boss, Mr. Davis, sat at the head of the table. Across from him were 3 executives from Nova Cosmetics. $1 million contract. I had spent the last month working late every single night, sketching and perfecting a logo and marketing campaign I was genuinely proud of. Whenever you are ready, Cassie, Mr. Davis said, smiling encouragingly. I took a deep breath. Thank you. Nova Cosmetics is looking for a fresh, modern identity. Something that speaks to empowerment and clean beauty. I have developed a concept called the True Canvas. The large projector screen lit up with my designs, pale pinks, sharp gold lettering, elegant layout. The best work I had ever done. The executives leaned forward. This is stunning, the lead executive said. The gold foil integration is brilliant. A huge wave of relief washed over me. I am doing it. Then the heavy conference room doors swung open. I'm so sorry we are late, a loud, arrogant voice announced. My smile vanished. My blood turned to ice. Walking in wearing a hot pink designer dress was Blair Sterling. Behind her, wearing a smug, vicious smirk, was Lexi. Mr. Davis immediately stood up. Miss Sterling. We didn't expect you. Nova Cosmetics is a subsidiary of my family's empire, Taylor said, flipping her hair. I have every right to sit in. And I brought my new marketing consultant, Lexi Thorne. They sat down at the back of the room. Lexi stared directly at me, her blue eyes shining with pure malice. Please, Cassie, Taylor said, resting her chin on her hands. Continue. Show us your original work. I swallowed hard and tried to focus. As I was saying, the gold lettering. Wait a minute, Lexi suddenly interrupted. She stood up and pulled a sleek silver laptop from her bag. Mr. Davis, I have a very serious problem with this presentation. What is the problem, Miss Thorne? Mr. Davis frowned. Lexi pointed directly at me. Cassie Hayes is a thief. She stole every single one of those designs from me. The room erupted in shocked whispers. That is a lie. I spent a month drawing those. I shouted. Really? Lexi smirked, turning her laptop to face Mr. Davis. Because I designed this exact campaign 3 months ago. Look at the timestamps. Mr. Davis put on his glasses and went completely pale. The files are identical. Ms. Thorne's files are dated March 14th. Cassie, your files are dated April 2nd. My designs. My exact logos, my color codes, my layouts, sitting right there in Lexi's Adobe folder. Then it hit me. The shared cloud drive. When Lexi and I dated, we shared the same cloud storage account to save money. When she broke up with me, I was so heartbroken I forgot to change my password. She had logged in, downloaded my entire portfolio, and changed the creation dates to make it look like she created them first. A perfectly executed, malicious trap. She hacked into my cloud. I yelled. Lexi, you liar. Why would a broke junior designer have better ideas than me? Lexi laughed. You couldn't handle that I dumped you, so you tried to steal my work to get a promotion. This is corporate espionage, Taylor announced, standing up, looking thrilled. Mr. Davis, my family takes intellectual property theft very seriously. Mr. Davis looked at me, his eyes full of disappointment. Cassie, is this true? No. I have original paper drawings. Look at my sketchbooks. Paper drawings can be faked after the fact, Taylor sneered. Digital timestamps do not lie. You are fired, Cassie, Mr. Davis said coldly. Immediately. Fired. Taylor laughed. That's not enough. She tried to steal from the Sterling Empire. She pulled out her phone. I am calling the police. Felony fraud. My lawyers will sue her for $2 million. The room started spinning. Arrested. Sued for $2 million. Fired. Everything I had worked for was burning to the ground in seconds. The executives were glaring at me like I was a criminal. My boss wouldn't look at me. Lexi stood there, a cruel, victorious smile on her face. She had completely destroyed me. "Please," I whispered, my voice breaking. I backed up until my shoulders hit the whiteboard. "Please, Taylor, Lexi, don't do this. I don't have anything." "You should have thought about that before you humiliated us at the gala," Taylor whispered, dialing her phone. "Hello, police department? I need to report a major corporate theft." I closed my eyes. The tears finally spilled over. I was completely, utterly alone. "Blair," my broken heart cried. "Where are you?" "Hold the line," a sudden, chilling voice echoed through the room. Not loud. Soft, smooth, and colder than liquid nitrogen. But it cut through the chaos like a sharp sword. Everyone froze. Taylor dropped her phone. I opened my tear-filled eyes. Standing in the open doorway, flanked by 4 massive men in black suits, was Blair Sterling. She wore a razor-sharp charcoal suit. Her silver-gray eyes were fixed directly on her younger sister, burning with a quiet fury that made the air feel suffocating. Blair slowly stepped into the room. Her black heels clicked against the hardwood floor. Click, clack, click, clack. Slow and rhythmic, like a ticking clock before a bomb explodes. "Hang up the phone, Taylor," Blair commanded. Her voice was terrifyingly calm. "Before I break your hand." Chapter 4. The Ice Queen's Wrath. The heavy black phone slipped from Taylor's fingers. It hit the wooden table with a loud clack. The entire room stopped breathing. The 3 executives from Nova Cosmetics were frozen in their chairs. Mr. Davis turned the color of a white sheet. Blair Sterling stood in the doorway looking like a dark, beautiful angel of death, charcoal suit perfectly tailored, jet black hair sleek and sharp over her shoulders, for security guards silently blocking the only exit. "She came," my brain whispered. "She actually came for me." Blair stepped into the room and completely ignored everyone else. She walked straight past the long table, directly toward me. The familiar scent of vanilla and cedarwood reached me before she did. She stopped inches away, looked down at my face, and saw my red, puffy eyes. Saw the tears on my cheeks. Her silver-gray eyes darkened instantly. Blair slowly raised her hand. Her cool thumb gently wiped a tear from my cheek, and the contrast between her icy reputation and the extreme gentleness of that touch made my breath catch completely. "Who?" Blair whispered, her voice dropping to a dark, lethal octave, "made my wife cry." The word wife dropped into the silent room like a live grenade. Mr. Davis choked on his own spit. He knocked his chair over, jumping up. "Wife. Miss Sterling, Cassie is your wife." Blair turned to face the room, standing slightly in front of me. Her posture was straight, dominant, and effortlessly powerful. "Yes, Mr. Davis," Blair said, her voice freezing the air. "Cassie Hayes is my legal wife. And you just fired her." "I didn't know." Mr. Davis stammered. "Miss Sterling, please." Miss Thorne provided proof. "Exactly," Taylor yelled, pointing at me. "Blair, are you crazy? You married this loser? She stole Lexi's designs. The timestamps prove it." Lexi tried to look confident, but her hands were shaking. "Facts are facts, Miss Sterling. Cassie hacked my cloud drive." Blair looked at Lexi. Not with anger. With pure, absolute disgust. She reached into her blazer pocket, pulled out a sleek silver tablet, and connected it to the projector cable. My designs disappeared from the screen. In their place, a giant, complex spreadsheet filled with lines of computer code, dates, and server locations. "Miss Thorne," Blair said, leaning gracefully against the edge of the table. "You claimed my wife hacked your shared cloud drive. The cloud storage company you used, SkyVault, was purchased by Sterling Enterprises 2 years ago. We own the servers." The color drained from Lexi's face. "When Taylor called my office screaming about corporate theft," Blair continued, "I had my cybersecurity team pull the master server logs." She tapped the tablet. A line of code on the projector lit up in bright red. "This is the server log for March 14th, the date Ms. Thorne claims she created her files. The server shows 0 file creation that day. Nothing was drawn. Nothing was saved." Taylor frowned. Then, Then why do Lexi's files say March 14th? Blair gave Taylor a look of deep pity. Because, Taylor, your girlfriend is not very smart. Lexi gasped. You can't just. Quiet, Blair snapped. Lexi instantly shut her mouth. Blair tapped the tablet again. A map of New York appeared, a red dot glowing over a specific apartment building. On April 2nd, Cassie created her files on her local computer. We have Adobe time-lapse proving she drew every line by hand. Then, yesterday evening at 8:14 p.m., a secondary user logged into her cloud account. One final tap. A high-definition security camera photo filled the screen. In the corner, clearly visible, Lexi sitting in the lobby of Taylor's apartment building with her silver laptop. The timestamp read 8:14 p.m. exactly. Miss Thorne logged into my wife's account, Blair said softly, downloaded the entire portfolio, and used basic software to backdate the files to March 14th. You didn't create anything, Lexi. You are a thief. You are a liar. And you tried to frame my wife for a felony. The silence was absolute. The evidence was undeniable. It was displayed in 10-foot letters on the wall. I. Lexi stammered, tears of pure panic spilling down her face. She looked at Taylor. Taylor, baby, I just wanted to impress you. Taylor looked at her like she was a monster. She had just come very close to reporting a fake crime to the police, something that would have humiliated the Sterling family on national television. Don't call me baby, Taylor hissed, taking a huge step away. You lied to me. You used me to get back at your ex. Mr. Davis slammed his fist on the table. Miss Thorne, you tried to deceive this agency and Nova Cosmetics. I am calling building security this instant. There is no need, Blair said. She snapped her fingers. Two security guards stepped forward and grabbed Lexi by both arms. Lexi shrieked, struggling. Let me go. I'll apologize to Cassie. Miss Sterling, please. Escort Miss Thorne to the lobby, Blair said, not even looking at her. Then call my legal team. We're suing for corporate espionage, defamation, and intellectual property theft. I want her blacklisted from every design agency in the United States. Cassie. Lexi screamed as the guards dragged her out. Cassie, please. Tell her to stop. The heavy doors slammed shut. A month ago, watching that would have broken my heart. Today I felt nothing but clean, quiet relief. Blair turned her attention to her younger sister. Taylor was trembling, staring at her shoes. Taylor, Blair said softly. It was a terrifying softness. I didn't know, Taylor whispered. I swear I didn't know she stole them. You are removed from the board of Nova Cosmetics, Blair stated calmly. Stripped of all voting rights. And I am freezing your personal accounts for 6 months. You will learn how to survive without my money. Taylor burst into tears and grabbed her Prada bag, running out of the room without another word. Only Mr. Davis and the executives remained, completely silent, staring at Blair like she had descended from the sky to judge them. Mr. Davis rushed toward me, forcing a desperate smile. Cassie. My dear Cassie. I am so deeply sorry. This was all a terrible misunderstanding. Of course you are not fired. In fact, you are instantly promoted to senior designer, with a full bonus. I looked at him. He had not given me 1 second to defend myself. He had thrown me away the moment a rich person told him to. Before I could speak, Blair stepped between us. She looked at Mr. Davis with eyes so cold they could freeze the sun. My wife does not work for you anymore, Mr. Davis, Blair said smoothly. Mr. Davis panicked. Miss Sterling, please. We need her. The Nova campaign is hers. The campaign belongs to Nova Cosmetics, which I own, Blair replied, her voice dripping with elegant danger. She let a beat of silence pass. As does this agency. Sterling Enterprises completed the acquisition of Harlow Creative Group last quarter. You have been working for me for 3 months without knowing it. I suggest you review your employment contract more carefully in the future, assuming you find future employment. Mr. Davis opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked exactly like a fish that had just been pulled out of a very expensive pond. As of this morning, Blair continued, My wife is the new chief creative officer of the entire Nova brand. Her office will be on the top floor of Sterling Tower. The view is considerably better than this one. The executives immediately stood up and clapped. A brilliant choice, Miss Sterling. Congratulations, Mrs. Sterling. One of them cheered, bowing slightly to me. Mrs. Sterling. The title hit me somewhere between the chest and the stratosphere. Pack your things, Mr. Davis, Blair added coldly. You are fired for gross incompetence. Mr. Davis collapsed into his chair, completely destroyed. Blair turned to me. The coldness vanished, replaced by that dangerous, beautiful softness. She reached out and took my hand. Her cool fingers perfectly intertwined with mine. Let's go home, Cassie, she whispered. I just nodded dumbly. Blair led me out through the stunned office, past the empty desks, and straight to the elevator. The doors closed, shutting out the rest of the world. Just the two of us. The smell of vanilla and cedarwood. Her fingers still laced through mine. Blair. I don't know what to say. Blair slowly turned her head. Her silver gray eyes were intense, heavy, and full of an emotion I couldn't quite read. I told you this morning, Cassie, Blair murmured, taking a slow step closer. The space between us disappeared. I was backed up against the cool glass of the elevator wall. You are my wife. I protect what is mine. She leaned down. Her breath ghosted over my lips. My brain stopped functioning entirely. And, Blair whispered, her gaze dropping to my lips, I believe there is one clause in our contract we have not yet fully honored. Chapter 5. The Sweet Twist. What happened next, Cassie would not fully understand until much later. At the time, she only knew what she could see, Blair Sterling, standing just inches away in the silence of the descending elevator, watching her with those unreadable silver gray eyes. What Cassie could not see was everything happening behind them. Because to the rest of the world, Blair Sterling felt nothing. The Ice Queen of Wall Street. Ruthless. Untouchable. People had been saying it for years, and Blair had never once corrected them. It was easier that way. Safer. But in that elevator, with Cassie pressed against the glass and her cheeks still flushed pink from crying, Blair Sterling was not untouchable at all. She was falling apart. When she had walked into that conference room and seen Cassie pinned against the whiteboard, small, cornered, alone, tears running silently down her face, something had snapped deep inside Blair's chest. Not cracked. Snapped. Clean through. No one makes her cry, Blair had thought, with a ferocity that surprised even herself. Not while I am still breathing. And now, with the woman she had quietly, stubbornly loved for 2 years finally within reach, the cold anger finally gave way to something much warmer. Much more dangerous. Blair took one slow breath. Then she closed the final inch between them and pressed her lips gently against Cassie's. Cassie gasped. Her whole body went rigid for one split second, hands freezing awkwardly in the air. Blair kept the kiss incredibly soft, incredibly tender. She didn't want to scare her. She just wanted her to know. Slowly, the tension left Cassie's body. She let out a tiny soft sigh. Her fingers tentatively gripped the lapels of Blair's charcoal suit jacket. She started to kiss back, lips soft, sweet, tasting like the vanilla coffee she drank every morning. The elevator dinged. They had reached the private underground garage. Blair slowly pulled away. Cassie's eyes fluttered open. Lipstick slightly smudged. Face the color of a ripe strawberry. She looked completely dazed, like she had just been struck by lightning. Oh my God, Cassie whispered, touching her own lips. You actually kissed me. Blair smiled. A real, genuine smile. I did. Come, let's go home. When they finally walked into the penthouse, Cassie dropped her purse on the kitchen island and turned around. Okay. Stop, Cassie said, holding up her hands. Blair, I need to know what is going on. You defended me like a superhero. You made me chief creative officer. And you just really kissed me. Why? I am just a broke, clumsy girl who got drunk and crashed your party. Blair took off her suit jacket and slowly walked toward Cassie, stopping on the other side of the marble island. "Cassie," she said softly, "do you honestly believe it was an accident that you got into that elite charity gala?" Cassie blinked. "Of course it was. I sneaked past the guards when they were looking at some rich guy's Ferrari." Blair let out a soft laugh. "My security team is made of ex-military special forces. Do you really think a girl in a cheap dress and broken heels can sneak past them? I saw you standing on the sidewalk in the rain. I radioed the head of security and told him to open the side door for you." Cassie's jaw dropped. You let me in?" "I didn't just let you in," Blair said gently. "I have been waiting for you to walk into my life for 2 years. 2 years. I didn't even know you existed 2 years ago." Blair walked around the island, took Cassie's hand, and led her down the long hallway to a heavy oak door, her private study. A biometric scanner. A click. A beautiful, dark room filled with books and a large window facing the city. Blair opened a small steel safe hidden in the wall. She reached inside and handed Cassie a simple wooden picture frame. Inside the glass was not a contract or a family photo. It was a cheap, wrinkled, brown paper napkin from a coffee shop. Drawn in blue ink, a clumsy, funny-looking cartoon of a cat holding a cup of coffee with the words, "Smile. Even Mondays end eventually." Cassie stared at it. I drew this. How do you have this?" Blair took a quiet breath. For the first time in her life, she felt truly vulnerable. 2 years ago, my father suddenly passed away. I was only 24 and the board of directors forced me to take over the Sterling empire. The pressure was suffocating. Every man in that company wanted me to fail. One morning, I was sitting in a tiny coffee shop, exhausted, hiding in the corner, and for the first time in years, I started to cry. Cassie's brown eyes softened. Then a college girl with messy brown hair and a bright yellow raincoat bumped into my table, Blair whispered. "You spilled half your coffee. You apologized 20 times. You noticed I was crying and you didn't care who I was or how much money I had. You just saw a sad woman." Cassie's breath hitched. I gave you my napkin." "You bought me a hot chocolate," Blair corrected softly. "You gave me this drawing. You told me a terrible joke about a penguin. And you smiled at me the warmest, most beautiful smile I had ever seen. Then you ran back out into the rain because you were late for class." A single tear slipped down Cassie's cheek. "You saved my life that day, Cassie. That small act of kindness gave me the strength to go back to my office, wipe my tears, and crush every single man who doubted me. I became the ice queen because I had to. But I had a photo of this drawing on my phone every single day until I could finally frame it properly." "Why didn't you find me?" Cassie whispered. "I did," Blair admitted. "I hired investigators. I found out your name, that you were a brilliant graphic designer. But I also found out you had just started dating Lexi Thorne." Cassie cringed visibly. Blair's voice stayed steady. "I am not a homewrecker. So I waited. But I made sure you were safe. When you moved into that terrible apartment, I anonymously bought the building so the landlord couldn't raise your rent. When you started using SkyVault, I bought the tech company to protect your data." Cassie's eyes went wide. "You bought an entire apartment building and a tech company just to watch over me?" "I am a billionaire, Cassie," Blair said softly, reaching up to trace her jawline. "What is the point of having a mountain of money if I cannot use it to protect the woman I love?" Cassie stopped breathing. The woman you love?" "When you walked into my gala, looking so beautiful, so brave, and so wonderfully clumsy," Blair murmured, leaning down until their foreheads touched, "and you asked me to marry you, it took every ounce of my willpower not to kiss you right there in front of the cameras." Cassie looked down at the napkin, then back up. The panic in her eyes was finally gone, replaced by something deep and warm. "Lexi told me I was poor, boring, and worthless," Cassie whispered. "She made me feel like I was nothing." "Lexi is a fool," Blair said fiercely. "You are brilliant. You are kind. And most importantly, you are Cassie Sterling." Cassie let out a wet, beautiful laugh. She set the picture frame down on the desk, reached up, wrapped her arms around Blair's neck, and pulled her down. She kissed her. Not shy or timid. Passionate, messy, and absolutely perfect. Blair pulled her flesh against her body, deepened the kiss, and felt every cold, icy piece of her heart melt into pure fire. When they finally pulled away, Cassie rested her head against Blair's chest. "So," Cassie whispered, a snarky little smile on her lips, "if we are really in love, does this mean I don't have to sleep on the absolute edge of the mattress anymore?" Blair laughed softly, kissing the top of Cassie's messy brown hair. "You can sleep right in the middle, my love," Blair murmured. "I have waited 2 years. I am never letting you go." Happy ending. Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story. Thank you so much for listening. I'm AIE0. See you next time.